Hi, I'm Phil Reynolds, CEO of DevStride, and I'm going to do a quick walkthrough of our system to highlight some of the key value props that we offer to customers. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to log in, and I have MFA turned on, so the system's going to send me a 6-digit authentication code to confirm that my identity is correct. So I get that code, and I can see here that I've typed it in, and the system's now going to log me in and give me access to my working environment. Now, as I load into the system, the first thing you'll see is the work stream map. And this is the functional hierarchy of all of the activity going on inside of my company. So you'll see here I'm demoing the DevStride instance of DevStride. So this is the instance of DevStride we use to manage our own company. And you'll see that the very top work stream, the top functions happening inside of our company are, for example, administration versus product. So I have one for administration. Inside of administration, I have functions like board management, finance, HR, insurance management. If I go into product, you'll see that I have things like building the DevStride product itself. I have a design system that we use, which has a bunch of UI components. We have release management, documentation for our system, GA, and meetings. And so this is a way of building a common taxonomy and a mental model, a map of how is our organization structured and organized? How do we deliver value? And the reason this matters is that this is frequently the way that a CFO will come through and budget for a company, and the way that a CEO comes through and decides whether or not to double down and invest in a key initiative or to pivot away from it. This is frequently the structure that's used to make those decisions. So you want everyone in your organization to have a shared mental model of what it is that we do here so that we know where our contributions fit into the larger picture of the organization. So that's the workstream map. From there, then, you move into the tooling that we've built to allow you to run agile flow and agile planning. So you'll see, for example, here, if I click into the plan view and I click onto cycles, I'll click, for example, into my product roadmap. And you'll see here, these are very large initiatives that are currently scheduled for Q3 of 2023 when I'm recording this demo. Now, these roadmap initiatives, they're fairly large and they get planned at a quarterly level. If I look back through my cadence of my series of cycles, I could go back to Q2 and see what I did, go back and see what I did in Q1, and notice that all these things are done. In Q3, we're in the middle of Q3 right now, so this work is ongoing. If I click over to this card-based view, you'll see these are the initiatives I haven't picked up. These are the initiatives that are in flight. If I go back to Q2, you'll see that everything that we did in Q2 is all done and all wrapped up. Now, the important thing about the way DevStride organizes this agile planning is that we have the ability to run multiple Kanbans for multiple teams at multiple hierarchical levels, which run at different cadences. So here's a great example of that. We're doing quarterly planning for big, important roadmap items inside of the DevStride product team. However, any one of these items, once they are picked up, and so for example, let's just click into one where we've got some work going on. Here's a roadmap item. I open it up and you'll see that there's a small description in here. I could open up another one and I could say, for example, notifications for due dates, and there's all sorts of description of what needs to be done at a roadmap level. That work then gets broken down into much more refined items. These look more like tasks that then roll up to those larger items. The big items are being scheduled on a quarterly basis, but these smaller tasks are being scheduled at a sprint basis, which is a word we use in Scrum to mean a 2-week interval. And so these are the smaller items that make up these larger items. And you're able to do that in a recursive fashion in DevStride such that you could have very big initiatives that are being managed at like an annual level that then break down into things at a quarterly level, that break down into things at a monthly level or a weekly level, or any really cadence that you need to build, you can run a Kanban for it. What's really powerful about this is that a lot of talk is happening right now in the Agile community around the idea of value streams, and that we have multiple things flowing in from across the organization to deliver ultimately value to a customer. Well, this is a great example here in the DevStride product roadmap, because these items that are being pulled in are coming from all over the organization. They don't come from one particular team or one particular Kanban board or one particular product. I might pull in a change that's happening inside of our authentication system, which is a separate team, and I might pull in another change that's happening inside of maybe our UI design system and something else that has to do with marketing and the website. And those things can all flow into one value stream, and an item can pass from team to team, from product to product, from value delivery work stream to another value delivery work stream, all within one overall value stream here or one Kanban board. So DevStride gives you the ability, again, to do functional mapping. It also gives you the ability to take the exact same work and put it into sequential mapping through agile planning and flow boards. We then have a third hierarchical mechanism in DevStride, which is timeline-based visibility, where you are tracking progress to key dates and milestones. And that's accomplished through our Gantt system. So if I were to come in here and I click, for example, onto the roadmap capabilities, you'll see that originally our team decided to go out. We adopted the initiative to go add Gantt charts to our own product. And this is where we did that, deliver enterprise Gantt charts. And in doing so, I imported the work stream, the Gantt work stream, which again, if I were to open this up, exists right out here. You'll see in my planning, under the product roadmap, under DevStride the product, under the planning module, and Gantt. And here's all of those work streams there. Those work streams have been imported into a Gantt chart now. Gantt, core capabilities, scenario planning, UX improvement, follow-on epics. Those are all the same things. But in this view, they've been given a timeline on a calendar, and they then have been given dependencies where this has to be done and this has to be done in order to execute on this milestone, the initial release. Now, the great thing about the way that we've built our Gantts is that these work streams can be imported from all over your workstream map. Therefore, you can have a dependency from one team that then flows into a dependency for another team and then to another team. We've also given you the ability here to collapse the work streams so that if I'm talking to an executive or to a customer, let's say, for example, they may only want to see this one initiative. We have one conversation talking point. How are we coming with Gantt development? And I can say, well, we've given ourselves 5 quarters to execute on it. And you'll see that we are here at the very beginning of the 3rd quarter, and we are already 69% of the way through the work. We are well ahead of schedule. And then if I want to double click into that, I can expand it and I can say the first 2 key initiatives were core capabilities and scenario planning, both of which got done prior to their scheduled initial release date at the end of quarter 3. So we met all of our commitments. We're on time, we're on schedule. And then if an engineering manager or an engineer wants to go in and push on the actual dependencies and see all the work, I can expand it on down and see all the very, very granular, independent, detailed tickets and items and all the effort that was done to execute on these initiatives. So this allows you to unify the business view of the work, departments, key functions, the way that we budget and that we organize our organization, the agile view on the work, planning in cycles, in boards, in cadences, and then also a customer or key stakeholder date-based view where we're working towards a key milestone at the end of which there may be some sort of a reward and or a punitive damage if we fail to meet it. So all 3 of those work styles are being managed simultaneously in one system that's tracking the work from everywhere in our organization. We're not siloed into individual teams. We can see what's happening everywhere. Now, the main power of all of this is really unlocked once you get down into the analytics module. So I'm going to click into the analytics system now. And DevStride has the best analytics system, I think, available in the world for this sort of system. And you'll see that right now, when I first click in, I have this range on the left of all of these agile metrics. A lot of these are either progress metrics, their quality metrics, or their flow metrics. And what's so great about the way we've designed this is that now that I have all of your work organized by work stream, by cycle and board, and by dates, timelines, and milestones, I can pull a report across the whole portfolio that unifies that work and gives you any lens into your performance. So I'll give you a great example of what I mean. Right here, this chart is the completed chart. It tells me how much of the work is done in any particular segment of my portfolio. So right now I have no filters applied. So this is everything across my entire company. I have about 2,200 items that have been done and about 550 items that have not yet been done. Let's say I want to filter that view down and I would want to say, hey, I wonder how much of that work across my whole company is devoted and dedicated directly to building the DevStride software platform itself. I can apply the filter and immediately I see that 796 items have been done, 215 items have not yet been done that we know about. Then I want to be a little more curious and I want to say, I wonder how much of this is actually bugs that we've encountered as we've been building the system. 145, 13 of which are open. How many of those are high and critical bugs? Because those are something that should really be a priority. And I can, in just a few clicks, see across my entire portfolio, here are the 33 known high and critical priority bugs that have ever been opened up and closed, 2 that we know about right now. And notice that one of them has been assigned, one of them has not. So now I know there's one thing that we're working on, one thing we're not working on. So this view in and of itself is incredibly powerful across a portfolio. But what's so cool about the way DevStride's analytics engine works is that the rest of these reports work across this same data set. So I can come through here and say, notice my filters are applied for DevStride the product, show me all the bugs that are high and critical priority. I can say, all right, I see that this is where progress is at today. I want to see how progress has been trending, and let's see how it's been trending since the beginning of this year. Remember this report? This is a month-over-month report of every high and critical priority defect that was ever logged into our system. And you can see how many were done or not done at the beginning of each month. And I can even turn series off here to just see how much work is not complete. And this is the count of open, high, and critical priority defects each month that we were dealing with. Furthermore, you might want to go a step further and start thinking about things like flow metrics, where you say, hey, what is for example, our reaction time once we pick up and start working on a bug, once we become aware of it and we start dealing with it, how long does it take us to review it, or how long does it take us to complete it and close it out? So I can then click on a report like this custom cycle time, where I say, show me from the time that this thing gets picked up and it's in progress to the time that it gets done, our average reaction time to a high and critical priority bug is 1 day, 5 hours, and 43 minutes. I can then further say, hey, what kind of time is it taking me to send this to senior engineering for review? And I can even refine that even further to say, okay, look at the time from the review stage to done. And that's on average 8 hours and 14 minutes. So my reviewers are always reviewing high and critical priority bugs within the same day. And it looks like at one point we resolved one in 3 minutes. That one was probably a lot of trouble. And once we took 2 days and 20 hours to do it, that one probably wasn't that big of a deal. At least in terms of customer impact. So this analytics engine gives you an amazing way to look at your business from both, again, a business value perspective through the map, an agile flow perspective through these cycles and boards, or through a customer commitment, key stakeholder commitment perspective through these timelines, dependencies, and milestones, and all of that reports back beautifully into a unified reporting engine. Now, underneath the hood, there are several other subsystems that are running that make all of this even better to use and even more productive for your team. For example, DevStride, if I open up any one of these items, let's go click on one here, and we'll pull in a sprint. Let's expand this out. Let's go look, for example, at build a front-end style for the items report tab, or maybe let's say general search, change the weight of data, title must be first. And this is a work item that the team has picked up. All right, and you see that there's something that they're doing, and we can leave a comment here where we can say the weights have been returning results I don't expect, and then give an example right there. I could go in and I could leave a comment for a team member and say at Shind Kariaksu, I added a more detailed description. And when I comment on this, it will immediately send a notification to Shind in my team that I have updated the description to this item. Now, what's so cool is when I send him that notification, it automatically goes out into a notification and commenting system. You'll see here where he sent me a message, and I'll just open that up right now. He said, can you please re-upload a picture that apparently I did not upload? I open up the system and it immediately takes me to the item. You can see here where I failed to upload my pictures. He says, will you please upload these pictures? And I can then see the discussion thread down below where I responded to him. And I did in fact upload these screenshots to him in a subsequent follow-up. What's so great about having a collaboration and discussion system in the system like this is that frequently teams gravitate into tools like Slack or Microsoft Teams. And while those tools are great, we use them ourselves here inside of DevStride, the conversations in them tend to be fairly scattered. They're not very focused, and they're very difficult to find later on. What makes conversations in DevStride so powerful is that the conversation history is housed with the work that it refers to, and it is then preserved for all future contributors to come back and see what dialogue occurred that led us to the decision that we reached that then led to the work that we produced. The system additionally lets you do things like upload assets, you can see activity on a particular item, and you can even then link to pull requests in GitHub. So let's focus on that value prop next. If I go into this system and look at all the work happening, you'll see that some of these items have little GitHub icons in that tell you how many commits there are, whether the commit has been merged into a branch, whether there are any comments out there for me to look at and read. And sometimes these will actually get quite large. So let's look at this one, for example. We'll open it up. And we'll see that in here, this item originated from another item. And if I click on the GitHub tab, this pull request has been associated. The way you associate a pull request in GitHub is you just simply put the item name either in the branch name, a commit message, or the pull request title anywhere in GitHub, and the system will automatically hook it, bring the code in, and now I'm able to actually see the description that was used in GitHub, all of the tests that passed or failed. I can see the commit history, what files changed. This is an amazing way to cut down on the back and forth and the noise between product managers and service managers in engineering. Because frequently when something is hung up, the answer to why it's hung up is there's a test that's failing, or maybe they've run into a complexity somewhere that no one's documented, no one knew about. A lot of times that activity is happening over in GitHub, and it's very inefficient to have product managers and service managers pinging an engineer, breaking their concentration, breaking their flow, only to ask a question that instead we can surface right here and they can go investigate for themselves. So this provides a tremendous opportunity for business and engineering to integrate directly and collaborate right inside of DevStride. And of course, as all this activity is happening, DevStride is keeping a perfect audit history of every single event that ever occurs, so that if someone changes an estimate or moves a due date and a customer somehow does elevate that problem to you, or a key stakeholder is upset, you're able to go in, you're able to audit the history of what happened and why, and reconstruct the story so that you can do better investigation in the future. Additionally, DevStride has an amazing automation engine running under the hood. The automation engine that you see here allows the system to repeatably, consistently execute on certain effects when a condition occurs. So it's set up just like this. You add a new automation and you can say things like, for example, when a due date arrives at 7 a.m. on the day of the due date, automatically add a tag that says overdue. That would be a thing you could do. Or perhaps you want to send a notification to someone. Or perhaps you want to create a new item that says, hey, manager, go intervene on this. That's a great example of an internal automation. However, DevStride also supports external automations anywhere we have an integration. So for example, here I've turned on GitHub as an integration. And because GitHub is turned on, every single action that can occur in GitHub that throws a webhook, we're able to grab in our automation engine and automatically run an automation inside of DevStride. So a great example of how this might work is I may want to say, hey, in the code base, if the engineers run tests and a test fails, and if the test that fails is on a, let's say for example, a bug, and that bug is a critical priority, automatically send a notification to a manager, call out to a webhook to a system like PagerDuty or Amazon SNS to send a text message, or maybe I want to create a review work item or send something to a manager to elevate. I can take any action in the system based upon any trigger event that occurs. This is a very, very powerful way to set up really complex sequences and chains of actions and reactions so that we are driving consistency in our operational excellence everywhere in the system. Finally, I'm going to touch on the enterprise data governance model just briefly because it's critical for the beautiful reports that I showed you earlier. One of the key challenges in a lot of systems that do agile work management is that they take a bottom-up approach where individual teams adopt the tool and sort of their sales and marketing, their go-to-market strategy is to land in a small team and expand out. The problem with that strategy is that each individual team makes a bunch of their own independent siloed decisions about what custom fields they're going to use, what tags they're going to use, what statuses and priorities. And you end up in a situation where then later stitching together a portfolio level report is difficult, if not completely impossible, because you're comparing apples and oranges in the data. So DevStride inherently from day one implements an enterprise data governance system. The way it works is that any field that is designed to be configured by a user, so this would be things like priority levels, effort points, custom field values, tags, these sorts of things. You first register an entity, as you see here in column 1, in a global space. So this is now a tag that is approved for use somewhere in the system. Then you take that tag, you put it in a collection. This is now a group of tags that we're going to use for a particular purpose. And then we go over to somewhere in a team or a work stream and we say, okay, this work stream or this team is now going to use this collection here. And the power of that is you're able to allow different teams, different work streams to use different tags without having a lot of subtly different definitions of the same thing because everyone's pulling from a single unified, globally approved list of data elements that we want to use later for portfolio level reports. And that data governance system is at work everywhere in the system to ensure quality. So at the end of the day, DevStride allows you to map all of your work by business value through workstream maps, to then map how you're going to go execute on the work through agile cycles, agile boards, and then you're able to overlay all of that work onto a plan that has milestones and dates for a customer. And you can then again see how you're tracking towards those goals on the milestones. And then you can go through our analytics engine and pull very, very detailed progress, quality, and flow metrics across your entire portfolio. All of that being buoyed by an amazing collaboration system, integration with code management, high automation, notifications, and messaging. And then as a final nice aha, if you happen to work in an engineering team, or you just like to be in a darker environment sometimes, yes, we do support night mode. Hopefully that gives you a really good idea of how DevStride is constructed and what makes it valuable. If you have any questions, please at any point in time, feel free to reach out to me at phil@devstride.com. I'd love to take a call from you. I'd love to help anytime. Thanks a lot.